Coming up in the Bahamas tonight, voting made easy for Bahamians resident outside the country and a first-time international assessment of Bahamian elections. Ahead, the details of amendments to the election legislation as polling day approaches. Rave reviews and an optimistic outlook for the Bahamas as the Caribbean tourism marketplace opens. And they're the voice for the voiceless. Protesters petition Parliament on behalf of the victims of sex crimes. All those stories and more straight ahead in the Bahamas tonight.
Covering the islands of the Bahamas, ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Good evening and welcome to the Bahamas Tonight, the National Report. I'm Keishla Adderley. Thanks for joining us. Topping the news tonight, parliamentarians met for the first time this year today, focusing again on legislation which will allow some first-time practices in the upcoming general elections. Prime Minister Ingram tabled the amendments to the Parliamentary Elections Act today, noting that in so doing, the government begins to ease some restrictive practices. Janaea Noel Ferguson has the story.
The changes are a radical departure from the standard operating procedure in Bahamian elections. The amendments to the Parliamentary Elections Act will allow independent observers to have an up-close and personal view of our election process. This according to Prime Minister Hubert Ingram, who said that this new amendment is the first of its kind for the country.
We have one of the most restrictive laws anywhere about what happens in a polling station. For instance, you would notice that in almost any part of the world that the television camera can be in the polling booth showing you when somebody votes, etc. Not all day, but I mean to be able to show you the candidate has voted, etc. We don't allow that in the Bahamas. You've got to be outside the door and trying to clean inside, etc.
Mr. Ingram added that the amendments will also allow for the voting pool for the upcoming general elections to be expanded to include Bahamian students in Caribbean countries like Trinidad, Barbados, and Jamaica, where we do not have embassies, only honorary consuls.
I wish I could do the entire world, but I'm beginning a process, and the process will allow students to vote in Miami, Atlanta, Washington, New York, London, Toronto, and Jamaica, Barbados, and Trinidad. And that is what I can accommodate. That is what I'm proposing at the moment.
Monday's amendments also make provisions for the ballot boxes to be used for overseas voting. Absentee voting is something that Bahamians have long called for, so that no eligible Bahamian is disenfranchised because they happen to work overseas.
That the boxes that they have to put the ballots in are not the big boxes that we use at a polling station in the Bahamas, so that the same will be transported by aircraft in a place that can hold them.
The revolutionary amendments to the Parliamentary Act allowing Bahamians abroad to be a part of the election process while overseas was debated and passed last June. However, that only allowed for foreign missions in the U.S. and Canada. Janaea Noel Ferguson, ZNS News.
Following the brief sitting of the House of Assembly today, parliamentarians and aspiring members of Parliament gathered at the Zion Baptist Church on East and Shirley Streets for the annual Parliamentary Service. Delivering the sermon was Reverend Dr. Ranford Patterson, who called for peaceful elections and made a personal appeal to politicians.
That no king can lead us to victory. There is no perfect candidates. I have concluded the battle belongs to the Lord. And we win only when our trust is in the Lord. Somebody say in the Lord. Amen. Something else I need to say to us is, number two, rejecting God will cause us to become numb to the things of God. As we go into this election, and I'm happy I have an opportunity to say it at this time, I ask you to please remember not to take God out of what you do in this election.
Well, following the sermon, prayers were offered for the country's leaders. The Caribbean Tourism Marketplace officially opens last evening at the Atlantis Resort, providing one of the biggest networking opportunities for regional tourism business. Prime Minister Ingram referenced several signs that things are looking up in tourism for a second straight year. Here's Shanique Miller with the report as 700 delegates prepared for the year ahead.
You can see that beautiful new airport.
If the Bahamas needed a two-thumbs-up sign that it's on the right track with the massive amounts of public infrastructure work presently underway, then it got it. From the president of the Caribbean Hotel Tourism Association, in the presence of 679 representatives of hotels, destination management companies, tourism groups, and others.
We need to establish the very best welcome and farewell to all our visitors.
Like the rest of the region, the Bahamas is already seeing a turnaround in tourism arrivals. Prime Minister Ingram says the numbers for 2012 look good.
We believe that early signs of improvements are evident. Here in the Bahamas, we saw a robust uptake in arrivals since November last. By a number of measures, this past December was particularly good for 14 major Nassau and Paradise Island hotels. For the second year in a row now, since the Great Recession, room occupancies, average daily rates and room rates were up over last year. Perhaps most encouraging has been that visitors are spending longer periods with us and reporting improved levels of customer satisfaction.
Certain that it was only a matter of time until this turnaround in the industry that drives our economy happened, the government made and continues to make hefty investments to improve public infrastructure. Prime Minister Ingram says this was just the kind of welcome delegates needed and the international media present needed to see.
Other infrastructural developments are being undertaken simultaneously with our roadworks. This includes the installation of underground utility corridors meant to significantly improve the quality and reliability of critical utilities, water, electricity and communications. It is our goal to make New Providence Island, the seat of our capital city, a modern, efficient, environmentally friendly place in which to live, work and enjoy recreation.
Another accomplishment, the dredging of Nassau Harbor to accommodate the world's largest cruise ships. But what makes it remarkable is that it's already paid off.
It is important to note that the $52 million dredging project was repaid from incremental cruise passenger taxes in just under 2 years.
Mr. Ingram said the focus isn't only on preparing and growing the economy, but there's an investment in the Bahamian workforce as well, by preparing workers to maximize the opportunities that will come on stream in an industry that continues to evolve. He talked about the Bahama Host and people-to-people programs.
These programs provide avenues through which our guests are touched on a personal level, increasing the emotional bond with our country and encouraging them to continue to recommend a Bahamas experience to their friends and relatives.
And as international and regional news cameras rolled, Ingram also talked about the Bahama Project, enhanced telecommunications in the Bahamas, the new straw market, as well as the redevelopment of downtown Nassau. Shanique Miller, ZNS News.
Well, the Ministry of Tourism will soon get a new home. Staff has been scattered about at temporary sites ever since their office was destroyed in the 2001 straw market fire. Prime Minister Ingram praised the partnership with the private sector and the work already being accomplished downtown. He said the new center will be multi-purposed.
Our private-public sector collaboration is further reflected in the new tourism center scheduled to be formally opened in short order. It will house both the Ministry of Tourism and Aviation and a number of private sector organizations, promotion boards, Hotel Employees Association, with which the Ministry of Tourism works so closely on a regular basis.
Well, with millions of dollars subsequently adding up to billions in overtime for the infrastructural transformation of the Bahamas alone, Minister of Tourism Vincent Vanderpool Wallace is confident that the country's #1 industry is poised for even further growth. In welcoming delegates to Marketplace, the annual Caribbean Hotel Tourism Association event, he took delight in telling the tale of the range of developments taking place throughout the country. This as he highlighted the current tourism position of the Bahamas. Carla Palmer has that.
With the opening of the National Stadium, the multi-billion-dollar Bahama project underway, and the new authentic straw market, Minister of Tourism Vincent Vanderpool Wallace says the industry is poised for growth. Even though arrivals were down last year by 1.2% due to Mother Nature from snowstorms and hurricanes, that has since changed.
We had in the month of December air arrivals to Nassau they were up by 7.1%, and in Grand Bahama Island, air arrivals are up by 15.9%.
More than that, cruise ship arrivals continue to increase.
70% of all our cruise passengers are on a Bahamas-only cruise. They go to multiple islands in the Bahamas. They go nowhere else. So they're really buying a Bahamas vacation at a price that they would like to have, and also at the same time having the multiple island vacation experience.
Minister Vanderpool Wallace attributes the overall tourism success to that of its people.
Between 2005 2010, there's been a significant improvement in the visitors saying that they had a wonderful experience and intend to recommend the Bahamas to their friends and relatives. That is vitally important, because one of the things many of us on the marketing side remember, that word of mouth is the most important thing that is out there.
With close to 1,000 international travel agents and writers here for the event, Minister Vanderpool Wallace is hoping that millions more people around the world come to know that it's indeed better to vacation in the Bahamas. Carla Palmer, ZNS News.
Well, still to come in the Bahamas tonight, we'll tell you all about the campaign to save the darlings. That story is after the break.